We did it. We saved democracy. No need to binge watch MSNBC for 2 years, also known as the Steve Kornacki OnlyFans account. They kept a live feed fawning over their data guy through commercials. It's absurd. How about you fawn over this liberal conspiracy? What's that? Nobody wants a conspiracy? We need to find a new revenue stream? Okay. Welcome to the liberal conspiracy. Let's discuss the peaceful transfer of power. How does this transition actually work? Well, everything is a bit uncharted here, but some things are institutional. The election was a stressful, slow burn. Many were glued to their TVs all week. Occasional tears, vague satisfaction and relief, then more tears. Weird dreams about Steve Kornacki, too. For others, it was about preparing your landscaping company for a press conference. Rudy's chemical romance somehow got worse after getting got by Borat. So, it's over, right? We can go back to listening to Fetty Wap, wondering how Mad Men ends, doing the mannequin challenge? Not quite. Welcome to the lame duck section of this presidency, where chronically inept get inepter. Now, if you were expecting grace in these final days of 2020, then you are going to be sorely disappointed. Also, who are you? Why did you expect anything other than chaos? You must be surprised all the time. I want to get inside your head and just kind of poke around. What's your story? Honestly, let's go on a date. Inauguration Day is the delicate moment where the pillars of democracy hang in the balance and they've never been more tested. The new POTUS is sworn in, and the outgoing president waves farewell to his staff from Andrews Air Force Base one last time. They change the call sign from Air Force One once they get in the air, and when they touch down, usually back home to an adoring parade of supporters, they are no longer president. Let's assume this does not happen this time in Manhattan. They kind of get to ask for any destination, like Palm Springs, maybe this time Prussia, or wherever Julian Assange hangs out. Anyway, this is the exact moment where old Captain America can go back and grab the Infinity Stone in 2017 in case things get ugly this time around. And this is the exact moment a person who may have committed a litany of alleged crimes is no longer protected by the office of the presidency. POTUS 45 may be able to pardon every known aider and abetter, which he already has started, but he cannot pardon himself. Why? Let's turn to legal historian and New York Times best-selling author of White Trash, Professor Nancy Isenberg. Professor Isenberg, thank you for adding credibility to our conspiracy. Can you explain from your legal historic expertise why pardoning is a thing?
The basic idea of a pardon is an act of mercy. It is a gift. It is a form of forgiveness. And it should be given to someone who is deemed worthy. That's the high ideal. That is what the idea of a pardon was intended to be. Pardoning is important because mistakes are made. People have been wrongly convicted. And one of the dangers is that often when people are convicted, states get very protective. Prosecutors don't want to admit that they did anything wrong.
How does a president like Obama use his pardons historically? How have other presidents used this power?
In Obama's case, most of his acts of clemency had to do with drug cases where they basically had included mandatory sentences.
So then why can't this president pardon himself?
It's totally ridiculous, the idea of a self-pardon. It's supposed to be a selfless act. Clearly, that means you cannot pardon yourself. In addition, if you actually read the Constitution and you read Article 2, Section 2, where it very clearly says that you cannot pardon in cases of impeachment, basically served as a check on the president's power. Okay, when Nixon was mulling over the idea of a self-pardon, the acting assisting attorney general, she basically said that the president cannot pardon himself because it violated the fundamental rule that no one may be a judge in his own case. Now, where'd she get that brilliant idea from? Well, she got it from James Madison. Maybe some legal experts should go back and read Federalist number 10.
I like that you're clapping back to the Federalist Papers.
One thing lawyers know.
Speaking to the lawyers, what should be Biden's DOJ or the New York AG's take?
The entire system of our government and the system that is set up in the court of law is about separation of powers. No man is above the law. It's just the only people who are defending the idea of the self-pardon are people who have their own political agenda. George Washington said that you could not pardon anyone if it threatened the dignity of the nation. It was supposed to be an act of virtuous disinterestedness. They did not see in any way that the president should be protected from prosecution. And that's one of the things that we have to find a better solution for.
Truly, the transition starts not on Inauguration Day, but right after the election is called. A transition team is essential in the weeks prior to assess systems and personnel needs, so our nation is not flat-footed out the gate. Sure, political staffers are salty and may pull a prank or two, so we know these guys will hide all the remotes for Biden's team. But potentially removing data sets, org charts, policy guidance, or flat out locking them out of the process, that's really not anything good for anyone. America just chose a new boss, and you'd expect, even when you don't like your boss, you don't want the building to catch fire because no one briefed them about that fire that already started. Oh, they started that fire? Oh, the fire is an uncontained virus. And they're selling off wildlife refuge. Oh. So, more time cooperating means more time to heal, to make America great. On a scale of being in a group project where someone else insists on doing all of the work to being a cleaning service hired after a college party, it seems that Team Biden is going to have a fairly large amount of carpet vomit to clean. Bill Barr's bio. If Obama represented the pure vision of America we want to be, this administration also shows a version of who America is. The Biden years can show this nation at its most predictable, dependable. But that can't happen when sabotaged and hindered out the gate. The best way right now to help the U.S. function for the next 4 years is an even Senate. So support a local BIPOC-led org in the Georgia special election. Rest assured, it's important, and as the only active election, the only time in history the fate of a legislative trifecta hung on one state. So that's our show in Almost Biden's America. Feel the difference? Yes, not the last. So please subscribe, share, buy this t-shirt. It's the only one, actually. My dad made it for my birthday, and I wouldn't be caught dead wearing my own merch. Jay-Z doesn't wear his own merch, not his own concert tees. Not even Train would do that. And I hate everything about Train. Thanks for watching.